It. It is part of our ongoing series on permitting fraud called Hidden Dangers.
This is Vernon Marcotte. He's a plumbing inspection supervisor for the Sewerage and Water Board. He certainly looks official in his uniform and employee badge. This photo is filed in public records of building inspections, but it has nothing to do with Marcotte's public job as a plumbing inspector. It was taken to show Marcotte was properly licensed to do private work on the side as a master gas fitter, hooking up gas lines and water heaters at people's homes. But we called Marcotte, and he admitted he didn't do any of that work.
I was just filing permits, back then. I was filing a permit to have it done, and a licensed plumber put in.
But not all licensed plumbers are licensed gas fitters, and that's where Marcotte's license comes in. He's filed hundreds of gas permits, 236 of them in 2020 alone. City documents clearly list him as the contractor on all of those jobs.
So are you getting paid for those jobs?
Just reversing of a license fee.
But contracts he signed and filed with the city show him charging an average of $276 per contract. Even subtracting city permit fees, that can add up quickly to more than $58,000 a year. More than Marcotte's taxpayer-funded salary of $57,000 from the Sewerage and Water Board. And again, it's for work Marcotte says he didn't actually do. State Representative Foy Gadberry, who used to own a construction inspection business, says that's a big problem.
Because you're being paid by the public for your job, but yet you're working within those hours somewhere else or inspecting something else. So it's a misuse of public funds, which is criminal.
Marcotte says he's not double dipping. He said he tries to schedule inspections of his gas fitting jobs during his Sewerage and Water Board lunch break. Except the timestamps on the photos of him at those inspections run the gamut, from 8 a.m. to the early afternoon. Marcotte says he only puts the permits in his name to help plumbers who don't have the required gas fitter licenses or have let them lapse.
A lot of master plumbers don't want to fool with it. I mean, it's just too onerous. So I would file a permit for them to go ahead and do their work.
But the state criminal code says it's contractor fraud if someone, quote, knowingly employs a subcontractor who does not possess the required license.
If his name was on the permit, he is the contractor for that project.
Besides the legal issues, Gadberry says playing games with gas permits is just plain dangerous.
Gas is ignitable with just a spark. And so that's the danger right there.
Marcotte says he made sure the work done under his permits was done safely.
I always saw, basically everything. I knew what was going on.
But was Marcotte actually there to check the work? He appears in the inspection photos from less than 10% of his gas permits last year. And remember that photo of him holding up his license as a master gas fitter? It was supposed to prove he attended an inspection of one of his permits on Berg Street. But a screenshot of that very same photo appears in the inspection of another job on East Tamarind Boulevard, and another on New Orleans Hammond Highway, and at least 3 more that we found in city permitting records. All of those jobs were inspected on the city's behalf by a third-party inspection company called IECI. Our previous Hidden Dangers investigations showed other times IECI used duplicate photos at multiple properties. 4 IECI inspectors were charged with crimes this year for allegedly falsifying inspections. And just last month, IECI owner Randy Farrell was charged with tax fraud.
That inspector, if he wants to take pictures, he has to take them himself on site for record.
But back to Marcotte. The state fire marshal's office confirmed he doesn't have the required certification to perform any inspections in Louisiana and hasn't since at least 2016. And still, the Sewerage and Water Board keeps paying him more than $57,000 a year in taxpayer money to be a plumbing inspection supervisor. And then there's this. In January of this year, he let his gas fitter license expire and stopped pulling permits in his own name. But we found he was still showing up in city inspection photos and reports for gas work throughout 2021 on at least 23 jobs with permits in the name of a plumber named Danny Lambert. Now look at the timestamps on the photos. They're always during work hours, always on days when Marcotte's public timesheets show him working 8 hours at the Sewerage and Water Board. Some of the inspection photos even show his Sewerage and Water Board truck, number 65. The city inspector who approved all these jobs under Lambert's permits is Buddy Fresh. Here's a picture from city inspection records of Fresh holding up his city inspector's license at one of Lambert's jobs last month, just after 10 a.m. on a Wednesday. And there's Marcotte smiling in the background in his Sewerage and Water Board uniform. We caught up with Fresh at another gas inspection he did last week and asked him what Marcotte was doing at Lambert's jobs. So he's there in his Sewerage and Water Board uniform, working. He's claiming 8 hours of work at that time for the Sewerage and Water Board, and you're taking a photo of him as the licensed gas fitter.
Correct. Correct.
Why is he taking the photo as the licensed gas fitter when Lambert has the permit?
That's a good question. You'll have to ask Danny and Vernon about that.
So we did just that, starting with Marcotte.
I was making a plumbing inspection at the same time. Probably.
But public records suggest otherwise. Some of the jobs involve no plumbing work at all. Some of Fresh's gas inspection forms have the name Vernon written on them. This one adds a phone number we confirmed is Marcotte's cell phone. And then there's what Lambert told us when we called him last week. He said Marcotte, quote, asked me if I could file a couple jobs for him. In other words, officially, Lambert's name and license were used to perform potentially dangerous gas work, but unofficially, the jobs actually went to Vernon Marcotte, leaving us and city officials asking if he's doing private work on the public's time. Now, government records show that less than 2 weeks ago, Lambert's plumbing and contractor's licenses were suspended by the state and the city for using unlicensed contractors to do the work under his permits. Lambert said he used experienced plumbers and gas fitters who were just having trouble getting their licenses, just like Marcotte told us. Coming up tomorrow at 10, I'll explain how this issue goes beyond Marcotte. His boss at the Sewerage and Water Board has hundreds of gas permits too. Our findings have government agencies concerned and one property owner very upset. I'll have that for you tomorrow on the Eyewitness News at 10.
A fairly quiet evening, similar to most